The street where Anastasia lived was quiet most of the time. Small trees lined the pavement, their branches bending slightly whenever the evening breeze wandered through. The houses were modest, their windows glowing softly at dusk. Among them stood a little wooden house, ordinary in every way, except for the strange calmness that seemed to rest upon it. That house belonged to Ivan and his daughter Anastasia. From the outside, Ivan looked like any other hard-working man. He ran a small carpentry workshop. People saw him cutting wood, shaping tables, sanding chairs, and thought of him as nothing more than a simple craftsman. His hands were rough, covered in scars and calluses from years of work. His shoulders were broad, his movements steady, his words few. To Anastasia, though, he was much more than that. He was her father, patient, kind, and always calm. He never raised his voice, never scolded harshly. Instead, he guided her with gentle words that lingered in her heart. Strength, he often told her, doesn't mean defeating others. It means holding yourself together when the world tries to shake you. Anastasia would smile at those words, though she never thought deeply about them. To her, her father was just wise in the way fathers often are, saying things that sounded like proverbs but belonged to a life she didn't know. A relatable problem. Anastasia was in her second year of college. She walked to campus most mornings, following the same quiet path. But lately, her walk had become uneasy. A group of boys had started lingering near the street corner. They laughed loudly, their eyes following her. Most of the time, she ignored them, but one boy was different. His name was Sergei. Sergei was proud of himself. He trained in martial arts and had already earned a black belt. Everyone in the neighborhood knew it because Sergei made sure they did. He walked with the swagger of someone who thought his strength was a shield that allowed him to do anything. One afternoon, as Anastasia was returning from class, Sergei stepped directly into her path. His friend stood behind him, smirking. "You know who I am, don't you?" Sergei asked, his tone sharp. Anastasia kept her eyes low, clutching her bag closer to her side. She didn't answer. Silence, she hoped, might make him lose interest. But Sergei only laughed. "Don't ignore me, I'm talking to you." A few neighbors glanced their way, but quickly looked off again. No one wanted to get involved. Sergei's reputation for fighting was enough to keep most people at a safe distance. Anastasia managed to slip away that day, but her heart pounded long after she reached home. The father's quiet watch, Ivan noticed. He always noticed. That evening, as they sat down to dinner, he looked at his daughter carefully. "You're worried about something," he said softly. Anastasia forced a smile and shook her head. "It's nothing, Papa." But Ivan said nothing more. He didn't press her. Instead, later that night, after Anastasia had gone to her room, he stepped into the backyard. Under the pale moonlight, he picked up an old wooden staff. Slowly, silently, he began to move. The staff flowed in his hands as though it were part of him. His feet shifted gently over the ground, his breathing steady, his posture balanced. Every motion was smooth, deliberate, practiced. He wasn't simply waving a stick, he was performing an art form, one built from discipline and memory. If anyone had been watching, they would never have guessed this quiet carpenter once carried within him the spirit of a seasoned martial artist. The gentle twist. The next day, the trouble returned. Sergei confronted Anastasia again, this time bolder, his hand closing tightly around her arm. "Don't walk away when I'm speaking to you," he demanded. Anastasia froze. The world seemed to slow. People were nearby, but no one stepped forward. For a moment, she felt utterly alone. But then, through the murmurs of the street, she heard a calm voice. "Let her go." It was her father. Ivan stood a few steps away, his posture relaxed, his tone measured. Sergei smirked when he saw him. "And who are you supposed to be? An old carpenter? Do you even know who you're talking to?" "I'm a black belt." Ivan's face didn't change. "Strength isn't about titles," he said quietly. "Let her go." Sergei tightened his grip instead. "Or what? You think you can stop me?" Ivan stepped closer, unhurried. His movements carried no threat, no anger. And then, with a single motion, so fast and subtle that the watching crowd barely understood what had happened, he freed Anastasia from Sergei's grip. Sergei stumbled back, wide-eyed. He had expected resistance, maybe clumsy pulling or shouting. He had not expected precision, control, or the kind of effortless skill Ivan had just shown. For a moment, silence blanketed the street. Then Ivan spoke again, still calm. "My daughter will walk in peace. That's all I ask." The weight of his voice carried more force than any blow could have. Sergei didn't respond. He couldn't. Something in him had shifted. Shadows of the past. That evening, Anastasia could no longer hide her questions. "Papa," she whispered as they sat in the kitchen, the lamplight glowing gently over the wooden table, "how did you do that? You're just a carpenter, aren't you?" Ivan leaned back, his eyes drifting to the small window where the stars blinked faintly. "There was a time," he began, "when my life was different. I trained in martial arts from the time I was younger than you. I competed. I won. I lived for strength and for victory. But slowly, I realized victory over others means little if you cannot master yourself. So I left that world behind and built this one instead." Anastasia stared at him in awe. She had never imagined her quiet, humble father carried such a history. In that moment, the pieces of his gentle wisdom fit together. His calmness, his patience, his quiet warnings about strength, they all came from experience, not just philosophy. Resolution. Days passed. Anastasia expected Sergei might return, angrier than before. But what happened surprised her. One late afternoon, Sergei appeared at their gate. His posture was different now, his eyes lowered. I came to apologize," he said, his voice lacking the arrogance it once carried. "All my life, I thought being strong meant making others afraid. But you showed me something else that day." Ivan regarded him silently. Then he nodded. "Every person has the chance to change. Use your strength to protect, not to harm. That is the path worth walking." Sergei's head bowed. For the first time, Anastasia saw not the proud fighter but a boy trying to learn. From that day on, Sergei no longer bothered her. In fact, he began to help the younger children of the neighborhood, teaching them simple exercises, guiding them with patience. His friends noticed the change, and slowly, his reputation transformed from one of fear to one of respect. Anastasia often watched her father during those quiet evenings in their little house. She thought of how easily he could have humiliated Sergei, how quickly he could have used his skills to prove dominance. But he hadn't. He had chosen dignity, wisdom, and compassion instead. In her heart, she understood something she never had before. True strength wasn't loud or boastful. It didn't need to be seen. It lived quietly, like her father, waiting only for the moment when it was needed, and even then, it revealed itself not to harm, but to heal. The house, once again, felt wrapped in peace. And whenever the old doorbell rang, with its soft, rusty sound, Anastasia felt time pause for just a second, carrying with it the quiet pride and love that defined her father's life.